Wake that ass up
Early in the morning.
The Breakfast Club.
Morning, everybody. It's DJ Envy, Angela Yee, Charlamagne the Guy. We are the Breakfast Club. We have Codie and Tommy Oliver on the line right now, the filmmakers that created Black Love. Welcome, guys.
Hi.
Hello.
We're thrilled to be here.
How are y'all?
Pretty good.
We're good. How you doing?
I'm blessed, black, and highly favored, my brother.
Well, congratulations on another season of Black Love.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I remember when Styles P and Adjua were on the Breakfast Club, and then afterward they ended up doing Black Love, and they said part of it was them being on the Breakfast Club and telling their story.
It was very much a part of it. Our assistant at the time, like, literally came to the office so excited, like, we have to interview this couple, and that's how it happened. Right after the Breakfast Club.
Now let's talk about how you got the idea for Black Love. What made you want to do Black Love?
You go for it.
It started for me long before I met him. I was single in grad school. My parents were divorced, and I'm reading headlines that say that Black people are getting married and staying married less than other ethnicities, and that the more degrees a Black woman has, the less likely she is to get married. Black women are the least desirable on the apps and the, whatever, eHarmony, those sorts of sites. And the headlines were just damage. They were just very damaging. And I was internalizing that. And so was my friends. And so part of it was knowing that there needed to be a place where Black love stories live. And even seeing, so this is how long ago it was, even seeing the Obamas coming into office. And we were all like, "Ooh, Black love, that's Black love. They're so beautiful." And it was like, we rejoiced. We, like, not me and my homies, everybody. And so it was just obvious that there needed to be visibility. And so years later, I meet him and I tell him the idea, like, a month into us dating. And he's like, "Let's do it." He's just that producer, among other things. But he's like, "Let's do it. Let's do it tomorrow. What we need. What we gonna do? How we gonna do this?"
Who was the first couple that you guys booked when you decided to go ahead with it?
Was it Andre's parents? No, it was Brooke's parents.
No, it wasn't.
Yes, it was.
So it wasn't.
Yes, it was in Detroit, babe.
Okay.
Detroit was the very first.
Okay, go for it.
I'm wrong?
Nope, go for it there.
That was the first. So, okay, when we started doing
Every
this.
man out there. All right, whatever you say, you go for it.
But you do that when you're wrong though too.
Oh.
So we really,
yes, dear.
The goal was, to interview everybody that we ordinarily would just admire. So we started with, like, our friends' parents, right? Or grandparents. So the first was one of my best friend's parents. Tommy and I were shooting a movie in Detroit, and that's where they lived. And we were like, let's do it. Let's just do Black love interviews while we're here. And then our good friend, another friend's parents who lives in Vegas. And so we did, like, LA and LA adjacent after Detroit. But the first celeb couple was probably Tia and Corey, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they're friends. So it was like anybody who would say yes to us at first, right?
Now, I saw there was some very unwarranted controversy over this new season when you guys posted the trailer, and people were like, "Why are all these Black men with light-skinned women?" But I was like,
Oh, Lord.
yes. And I saw that was the thing but I was like, that's 1,000% not true though, because if you've seen seasons of Black Love, it's never been just Black men with light-skinned light-skinned women.
Yeah, for sure. So that was the teaser. Go
Yep.
ahead, babe.
So that was a teaser, which we sort of screwed up on. And so there was way more people in the season than you saw in the teaser. And so it wasn't the best teaser. But like you said, that's not how we've been going about it the entire time. And so 3 seasons before this season, we dropped the trailer afterward, which had more couples in it. And it was clear that that's not what we're doing.
Well, the name of the show is Black Love. And I mean, there's literally a million different shades of blackness. You know what I mean? If the show is called Dark Skin Love and you only show light-skinned people, then I could see the problem. Like, you don't think that's kind of a reach for them to attack y'all for that?
What I think is that, to Tommy's point, like, we should have been more thoughtful with that teaser. That was the first thing that you see from season 4 of Black Love, that we know, as well loved as our show is from those who know about it, we know there are tons of people who don't. So that was a lot of people who never heard of it, who were like, "What is this extra light-skinned lady brown skinned man show, right? And so it hurt, it hurt. We were surprised initially, because that's so not who we are and not what our show is about. To your point, we try hard to show all of us in every shade. And so it's definitely not representative of the show as a whole, but it was a lot of people who had never heard of us ever.
So let's look up who's on this new season. Because I did get
Dana Dane on the new season, right?
Yes,
Dana Dane is on the new season.
Yep.
How did y'all get up with Dana Dane?
How did we? You know what's funny? So Mitzi Miller, who used to be editor-in-chief of Jet, she knows everybody. And so this is not the first couple she's given us, but she's good friends with them. And she recommended them. And at this point with Mitzi, I don't even question it. I just say, okay, what time are we doing the interview? So that's how we linked up with them.
Yeah.
Now, I saw a little bit of his story. I thought it was interesting because this does always happen, right? Where you meet a guy, but your friend or family member's like, oh, he ain't ish. Like, you don't need to talk to him. And that is something that happened with him. And that does go to show you that sometimes you have to find out for yourself instead of listening to other people's opinions. Someone else's experience might not be the experience that you have, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we try really hard to show all the different how did we meets, right? That's why that first episode is so important to me anyway, is like, I love to show that it doesn't always start like you think it's going to. Butterflies.
It typically doesn't start how you think it's going to.
Yeah, 9 times out of 10. Butterflies and rainbows. And he called the first night. Like, it just doesn't always work that way. And so we got sex
Codie
on the
hitting on
first
me.
date in one of our couples. We got 2 couples who waited to, we got Dana and
Waited for years.
Waited for years. We have Dana and Tana, who her cousin was like, he's terrible, horrible.
Mm-hmm.
So we love to just put that mix.
Have you ever had a couple on the show and then after it aired, some of his side pieces came out like, I didn't know he was married?
Yes. We have.
Wow.
I'm not going to say their names, even though they're not famous. And after it happened, they were very public about it. But because it's not, I won't say their names, but it did happen last season.
That is crazy. I figured something like that because
can I just say,
walking around like they not married and they are.
Wait, Tommy, tell, that he called you.
Hi, Tommy.
I mean, look, this was one of the times that in the interview, Codie and I had a bit of a disagreement because they were talking and I could tell that he wasn't being completely honest. And so I said something and I said something again.
He explicitly said, so did you cheat? And he was like, nah.
And then
it was just, pushing the limits, right?
But Codie didn't want me to push it.
Pushing the limits. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, no, it was definitely, I mean, in the episode that, we put it in that he was doing some questionable things and really leaving his wife all hours of the night. But when Tommy asked him straight up, he said no.
Wow.
And so after it aired,
he called me and he apologized because he remembered that I asked him straight up and that he lied to my face. And so he owned it in a big way. And part of it wasn't that he owed me anything. He owed his family something. And he, as a black man to a black man, where I asked him a question and he lied and he perpetuated something that was completely inaccurate, he wanted to own that as part of his journey to hopefully getting to be where he should be as a man and as a husband and as a father.
And can I just say, one of the things that, like, people ask a lot of questions about our show and do we stay in touch with the couples and all that stuff. We do, and they're a marriage village for us, right? So one of the things that Tommy did was he put him in touch with Neil Brown Jr., who, he's on Insecure and he was in season 1 and he was unfaithful and worked his way back to a beautiful marriage. And Warren too, right? You put him in touch with Warren. So like, that's what Tommy did as a result of this. So I feel like good came out of it.
Right.
So now the show, of course, you celebrate Black love and Black marriage, but it also goes deep into some of the things that might be troubling a relationship, correct?
Absolutely.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's no good with, I mean, I won't say there's no good without bad, but there's
often no good without getting through stuff. You have to see
getting through in order to understand the decades of beauty.
Right, because you asked the brother if he cheated, right? And he said no. but he might know he cheated, but his wife might not know he cheated.
Correct. That's exactly what that was.
And then he was like, I can't say this right now, but let me deal with this first, and then I'll come back. Because that would be a crazy way to find out.
Yeah.
In an interview together.
True that.
We've had some of that stuff happen, nothing to that magnitude.
Yeah.
You ever get to a
It's hard for people to have to relive when you watch it, for some of these people to have to relive experiences that they already went through, and then have to talk about when they had those difficult times in their relationship. That gets emotional.
It definitely does. But you know what? The people that have been through it, right? Who have done the work to repair their relationship, they're typically, like from our experience, this ain't everybody in the world, they're typically happy to share it and help somebody else. Like they'll tell us that after the fact. So, if you haven't dealt with your stuff, that's when it's hard. But when and we had an example of that. We had a couple who was in the middle of their stuff. Who said like he just moved back in the house after the last time I kicked him out. So, and we were all surprised to experience that moment together. Because
we thought that they had already been through it.
Right.
But they were going through it at that point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Envy.
No, I was going to ask, and has a couple or anybody ever asked, hey, I need you to take this out, or, anything that like that has ever happened at all?
Funny enough, yes, but it's usually silly. It's not silly, but it's usually like, my wife didn't like that I said that. Can you just, that's really all it is. Nobody has ever asked us to remove like their story, their truth.
And I think part of it comes down to that the way that we tell these things, and we've been telling them, it's always honest and without salaciousness. And so it's just sort of telling the story fairly. And so they know that it'll be handled well. And that's also part of the choice of sitting down. And so it's like, if you don't want to say anything, and then you don't sit down. There are plenty of people that we're friends with, regular folks, famous folks, who are just super private and wouldn't do it, even if they are huge public fans of the show.
So who's on this new season? Besides, we already know Dana Dane. Who else?
So Bill Bellamy and his wife, Kristen.
Dule and Jasmine.
Dule Hill and Jasmine Simon, who we just adore. Our babies are like the same age. And
Terrence and Joy.
And Terrence Williams and Joy Winans from Greenleaf. And Lord, see, always putting me on the spot. That's what I can think of off the top of my head.
What do you think the importance of showcasing Black love is on television?
Frankly, like most directly, it shows us what's possible from the standpoint of we are often seen as everything but happy, loving husbands and wives and mothers and fathers. And when you see yourself as they see us, the way they portray us, then you think that's all there is. And so that was really the goal, to show who we really are.
Yeah,
because
I think that's the thing about it, and that's why I like Black Love, and I love the couples on it. It's so many different couples from different areas, different problems, different backgrounds, but it just shows that we can get through it and we can make it. I told Charlamagne this story. I was talking to a Jewish friend of mine that I just had met at the time, and he walked up, he was like, yeah, how many kids do you have? And I said 5. And he says, are they all by the same woman? And he asked that because that's what he really felt. He really believed that that's what it was. And I'm like, yeah.
Well, in his defense, he thought Envy was Dominican.
Shut up. Shut up. So I asked him, how many kids do you have? He was like, oh, I have 6. And I asked him the same thing. Are they all by the same woman? He started laughing because now he understood.
Yeah.
What usually happens is they see all these things and they be like, oh, how many baby mothers do you have? How many baby fathers do you have? But it's not that. Me and my wife been together since 16. It's just different.
Yeah.
But I love to see Black love, and I love to see the different, a couple been together for 10 years. They've been together for 5 years. They've been dealing with this or they've been dealing with that. I just really love to see it, and it shows positivity for the Black community. I love it.
I think that's exactly right. It sounds like you're volunteering for an interview to me.
Oh man, Envy gonna definitely cry during his interview. I'm gonna tell y'all right now, that is gonna be must-see TV.
And then y'all already get flack for having all them beige people on this goddamn show.
Yeah, we're gonna have to wait. We're gonna have to wait a couple seasons.
Well, I'm waiting for the answer though. You gonna do it?
Oh no, I don't mind. You could ask me anything. I mean, me and my wife do a podcast similar to what you said, so we can share our experiences. A lot of times, as Black people, we don't talk about what goes on in our lives, so we really don't know. There is no barbershop talk for relationships. There is no barbershop talk with, damn, my wife is mad at me for this. How do I handle that? We don't have that. So when I do the podcast and I watch shows like Black Love, it opens it up to be like, babe, let's watch this. This couple went through that. Let's talk about it after. So it opens that up. Of course. I don't mind. Yeah, absolutely.
Do y'all think Black Love is revolutionary?
Absolutely. Yeah. Well, yes. Okay. Just put it out. Hold on. The Revolution Tour we on.
There you go.
Let me see. I can't see.
Black Love Revolution.
It's Black Love Revolution Tour. And
wow. Well, why? Well, maybe the better question is, why is Black Love revolutionary?
Go for it.
Because everything has been done to take it from us.
Ooh.
Everything. So, at the end of the day, showing it, having it, feeling it is our right. And the more that we, do that, the better off we're going to be as a community, as a society.
People forget that there was a time where we literally could not marry, where we were thought of as less than. And so to love was an act of defiance. To be with somebody there were so many damn things that could go wrong. And so that still permeates in our culture today in the way that we are perceived and the way that we're portrayed. And so to actively work against that, to show who we are and how we are, is something that is unequivocally revolutionary and important.
What do you think about Black Love without being married?
The long story short is, like, we personally are completely supportive. I mean, at the end of the day, people deserve to have love. We made a choice with this show to show marriage, right? To show that legal part that just makes it that much harder to walk away. But at the end of the day, that's part of why we launched blacklove.com. So we could just show 360 degrees of love all the time, what partnership looks like, parenthood, self-love, dating. So we could show all of that Black love is. So
how has this helped your relationship doing this show?
It helps and it hurts.
We get into a lot of arguments. And what's interesting though is, like, the whole reason for the show, honestly, was I didn't have any real examples, and I wanted to have as much. But I know, but I'm still talking about for me.
Okay.
And so I didn't have those examples, and I wanted to learn from people who had made it work. And for me, if I can be around them, if I can figure out what they're doing right and what to avoid, I'd be better positioned to be able to make this work, because I really do. And so I remember feeling during the first season when we were shooting that I had such a wealth of inside knowledge that nobody else had, and that I couldn't wait to share, because it was just helping me get ready for marriage. And
we were engaged when we did the first interviews.
And so one thing but it's sort of like the idea of, you may know something, but that doesn't mean it's committed to muscle memory. And we often fight about those things, or we go see some couple who's been together for 19 years and they've got some stuff figured out, and Codie's like, well, the way they did that, and I was like, but that ain't me. And so it's but overall it's been good for us. What?
Nothing. You right.
That's what I do in my arguments with my significant other. I tell my wife, you'd be like, you right.
How important is sex when it comes to your relationship? Because I know a lot of people aren't necessarily in sync as far as their sex drive. It's always one person that wants it more than the other person. Some people would tell you sex isn't that important. Some people think it is extremely important. So what do you guys think about sex in a marriage and relationship?
So I'll say, both personally as well as obviously interviewing like 200 couples, right? I would say intimacy is important. And for different people, that means different things. It looks different. And so even the most basic, like, I don't want to say men versus women, but sometimes there's one person that needs physical intimacy more, and there's one person that needs emotional intimacy more, but they play into each other. So, I think there's a lot of...
And that's the hard thing about marriage. And so
Word.
It's understanding that you have to be cognizant of and nurture the emotional and intimacy part in order to have as much sex as one would like.
You said it. Go on and nurture the emotional part. Okay, y'all heard it.
Y'all do couples therapy?
Not recently.
Intermittently.
But we need to.
You feel pressure that you guys have to stay married now because this is the example and this is the show. Like, we can't mess this up.
I couldn't care less about anybody else or what anybody else thinks. It's like, I'm not staying together because of whatever. Couldn't care less. None of that
like,
is. And
you said that like you about to announce a divorce.
No, it's the opposite. It's the opposite. It's like, look, my relationship is my relationship. And so I couldn't care less what anybody else has to say about it or thinks about it, or there's not 1 ounce of added pressure for me. It's, we make it work because we make it work. And that's it. I mean, if anything, it's maybe for our kids because I want us to be a positive example, but it's not for anybody else because the things we do for everybody else, we've got the show, we've got the website, we've got the events, we've got the socials, we've got all these things where we are very actively trying to show us and help people and enable people and share those things. And so I don't need to do that with added pressure for us.
Have you ever felt like you wanted to tell somebody to walk away from a relationship because when you spoke to them, it felt toxic to you? Have you ever in your head felt like they're not good for each other?
In our interviews with,
yeah.
The short, like my thought is no. I've never been like, oh, they should end this. Now I'll say 2 things. 1, we never judge our couples, right? We look at one of the things we always ask is like, how did you get there? Or, we really try to dig in. So when you ask that, it's like, yes, there are personal conversations that I have. There are a lot of people that reach out because we make Black Love. And sometimes I'm like, girl, but I honestly would, it's unlikely that I would say that to someone because most important, you never know what trauma and experiences someone is coming into that relationship with. And so, we actually tackle mental health this season in ways that we haven't before. And I just think it's important that we recognize like the humanity in each other and the humanity in others, because you do not know what that person is coming into that relationship with, what bad examples or influences, what traumas. And so I am ill-equipped to tell somebody to leave something when I don't know what they brought in.
You could think it.
No, even on the podcast, the time we go that far is if it's an abusive relationship.
Right.
Like somebody is putting hands on somebody like that, and then we say, but if it's an argument, you never want to jump in. But if it's to the point where it's life or death, or they're doing things that can kill you, then
right.
But you don't want to tell somebody, because I always remember, who I was at 21, and I look back, and I'm like, damn, my wife should have left me a long time ago.
Right.
But
that's why you had them shorts on with the socks up to your knees.
I was 6 at that picture, and I'm mad I told
you. You should post that for a throwback. But all right, well, we're really looking forward to watching this season. I'm excited. I got a chance to get a little sneak peek because we got some of it last night. So, I'm always interested in watching and learning from other people's relationships. Mm-hmm. So I appreciate y'all for bringing this to the forefront and being so open about what you have going on with yourselves too. I think is really helpful. You think people have to go through some turmoil in order for them to have a stronger relationship?
I don't know that they have to, but I think the ones who do and figure out how to get through it are often stronger because of it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I agree.
Because I be telling people, man, ride or die. I don't know. I'm not trying to die to be in this position.
Right.
Yeah.
Sometimes the death isn't a physical death though. It's a ideal death. It's bad habits death. It's a death of a certain level of consciousness that keeps you stagnated in relationships.
Yeah, something that precedes a rebirth.
Boom.
Are there secrets that you should keep in a relationship? Like, is it okay to have any type of secrets in a relationship? Do you have to share everything, you think?
And from the other person?
Mm-hmm.
Good question. For me, I am way too transparent. I'm like, I want you to know everything. I just, and maybe that's because I got nothing to hide, but I want you to know everything. We actually were with a couple the other day who said to us, people say you want to marry your best friend, but like, if you're not talking to that person like your best friend, then stop saying that. Be honest.
But you also don't tell your best friend everything either, right? There's some things you keep to yourself.
See, that's part of the problem. Everything I tell her goes straight to 2 other people.
That is his perception. That is his perception.
They know way too much about me.
You think guys talk to their boys as much as we talk to our girls?
I know some do. I know he does not, but I know some do. Mm-hmm. I think people need an outlet of some kind. So whether that's your therapist, whether that's that one friend or several, but I also think that has to be thoughtful, right? Like some of us have friends who will be like, oh, you should just leave or whatever, or turn around and tell somebody else. But I think being thoughtful about who you're speaking to. So, and knowing that they have not your back, your marriage's back, right? They want to see you win. They want to see you successful. So they're going to tell you the truth. You have to be thoughtful about all that. You can't just
thoughtful about what you say. Because I have friends that will tell me the worst things about their boyfriend all the time, and I'd be like, "Why? I don't understand why." And then I meet him, and I can't even look at him and think he's cool because told me all the messed up things he did. I'm like, you don't ever say nothing good about him. All you do is
the thing.
They tell you about the fight. They don't tell you how they make up.
Exactly.
They don't tell you how they get past it. And so all you have are those bad understandings of that person.
Yep.
Right.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to the show. Thank you guys for joining us so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Really appreciate you having us.
Right. And we are already committed to being on the next season, so that'll be good.
Another light skin.
Don't put him in the teaser.
Don't worry. Sorry, don't be offended when you just, we slide through the back door.
Oh, that's how he likes it. Yeah, I'm glad you know him already. You're a great interviewer.
You know how you have a work bae? He is my work bae. Like, he flirts with me all day long.
Look, as long as you're happy.
Right. You still come to work.
It's Codie and Tommy Oliver. It's The Breakfast Club. Good morning.